welcome to Storytime. We're filming from my house again, and this time we are going to talk about hibernation. That's a really big word. Can you try to say that? Hibernation. And that is when animals, not all animals, but some animals go to sleep and take a really long nap while it's super cold and when it's hard to find food for them in the winter time. And bears are one of the most popular hibernating animals. So most of our stories are about bears today. And our first story is How Do Bears Sleep? Written and illustrated by E.J. Bird. The north wind is stirring and dry leaves are shifting. Soon you'll see snow a-blowing and drifting. This is the time when winter comes creeping, and this is the time when a bear thinks of sleeping. Needing a cave, he'll search high and low, till finally he finds one to keep out the snow. Now I've asked all my friends, but nobody knows just how a bear sleeps when the winter wind blows. Does he make up a bed of dry leaves and stones, or lie on the ground just resting his bones? Does he sleep on his belly or flat on his back, with his mouth open wide or just opened a crack? Does he twist? Does he turn? Does he snarl and get grumpy? Does he tear up his bed when it starts feeling lumpy? Does he lie very still without any twitching? Or lift up a paw to scratch where it's itching? Is part of his time spent arranging the boulders to keep the sharp edges from scuffing his shoulders? Does he stare, eyes wide open without ever blinking, or shut his eyes tight to help while he's thinking? Does he squint in the dark, lying still on his bed? Does he rub his brown eyes till his brown eyes are red? Does he curl in a ball? Does he whimper or snore? Does he have scary dreams and wake up with a roar? Or maybe he dreams of grubs under logs, or cool summer evenings and the croaking of frogs. Maybe it's strawberries all squashy and drippy with juices so runny they're made for sipping. Or high mountain meadows with a clean south wind blowing, the clouds white like lace and wildflowers growing. Or a soft summer night, crickets sawing a tune, and a whisper of wind and a slice of the moon. Does he dream of sweet cherries and old honey trees, combs dripping with honey and no honeybees? Now here are some problems. It doesn't seem right. How does he sleep when it's not even night? How can he miss Christmas or New Year's horns blaring? How can he lie there without even caring? How can he sleep through a wind howling blizzard, or a cold driving wind that freezes his gizzard? A bleary-eyed bear all droopy and dozy in his snow-drifted cave, can his fur keep him cozy? Try to imagine or even to think from November to April without even a drink. If I live to be 90, I'm sure I won't know how a bear sleeps through the cold winter snow. Because I'm sure it would be a horrendous mistake to go poking around and find him awake. So how do you think a bear sleeps? What do you think, Emma?
Sleeps in the cave.
Sleeps in a cave? Yeah. And their next book is Animals in Winter by Henrietta Bancroft and Richard G. Van Geller. And this is a nonfiction read. So it is full of facts. The days grow short, the nights grow long, it is getting colder, winter is coming. The leaves have fallen from the trees, there are no berries on the bushes, insects are gone, the grass is dead and brown. Birds and other animals are getting ready for winter. Some of the birds will fly south. Bluebirds and orioles go to the south. They go where it is warm and sunny and when there is food for them to eat. When spring comes, the birds will make the long journey back north. They migrate. Some butterflies migrate too. That is what monarch butterflies do. They gather in a tree by the hundreds before cold weather comes. They stay in the tree all night. In the morning, they fly toward their winter homes in the south. Many bats fly south too, but some bats stay in the north all winter. When the weather gets cold, they go to a cave. There's no wind or snow in the cave. The bats sleep there all winter. And what is that big word when animals sleep all winter? Do you remember? Hibernation.
Hibernation.
Good job. They do not eat. They live on fat stored inside them. They do not move. They hardly breathe. They sleep, sleep, sleep. They hibernate. Woodchucks hibernate too. When fall comes, a woodchuck eats and eats and eats. He eats grass, twigs, and leaves. He grows fat. When it gets cold, the woodchuck crawls into his long tunnel and goes to sleep. Does he sleep for a day? Longer than that. Does he sleep for a week? Longer than that. A month? Even longer. A woodchuck can sleep as long as 4 months. So December, January, February, March. It's 4 months. The woodchuck seems hardly alive. He breathes very slowly. His heart beats slowly. He sleeps, sleeps, sleeps. He hibernates. Some animals do not have to hibernate. They gather food and save it for the winter. That is what a pika does. A pika looks like a little rabbit, but with round ears. Pikas live in high mountains where winters are long and cold. They eat grass. In the summer, they cut more grass than they can eat. They spread the grass on flat stones, and the hot sun dries it out. By the end of summer, a pika may have gathered 50 pounds of grass. She hides it under rocks. In the winter, she eats the dry grass, and it keeps her alive. Squirrels gather food too. They save it for winter. They dig holes in the ground. They bury hickory nuts and acorns. When winter comes, they dig them up and eat them. Sometimes squirrels forget where they bury the nuts, and trees may grow from the nuts that squirrels forget. Some animals do not get ready for winter at all. They do not store food. They do not hibernate. They do not migrate. They must hunt for food all winter long. There are mice that must hunt all winter for seeds of goldenrod, asters, and other wild plants. Sometimes they eat farmers' corn, oats, and wheat. Deer must dig in the snow for dried leaves, plants, and moss. When the snow is deep, they must eat the twigs, buds, and bark of trees. The rabbit must hunt under the snow for bits of grass and plants. When the snow is deep, he too eats the buds and bark of bushes so he can stay alive. In the winter, the fox hunts for mice and rabbits. This fox has discovered a mouse in its tunnel beneath the snow. When the winter is cold and the snow is deep, many animals cannot find food. Here are some ways you can help animals in winter. You can make a peanut and popcorn garland. Nail a sunflower head to a fence or a post. Hang suet in a plastic net bag. Stick pieces of fruit and cheese on dead branches. Nail a seed tray with drainage holes to a fence post. Make an apple, cranberry, raisin, and orange garland. Make sure feeders are placed out of reach of predators. Put a birdhouse in a tree or under the eaves of your house. Plant shrubs with berries for food and shelter. Hang an ear of corn for squirrels and chipmunks. But please remember, once you begin feeding birds and other wild animals in winter, you must continue. They are depending on the food you supply. Eventually the days grow longer, nights grow shorter, it begins to get warmer. Spring is coming. So we learned about lots of animals that hibernate, and some that migrate, and some that just keep looking and hunting for food each day or whenever they're hungry. Our next story is The Bear in the Book by Kate Banks. There once was a book. It was square, with words and colorful pictures, and it lived on the shelf with many other books. It belonged to a little boy, and it was his favorite book. When it was time for a story, the boy took the book from the shelf. He opened it and looked at the pictures. Then he handed the book to his mama. She spread it across her lap, and the boy cuddled up next to her. The book was about a big black bear who went to sleep for the winter. Do bears really sleep all winter long? Asked the boy. Yes, his mother said. They hibernate. The boy turned the page. The bear was munching on berries and leaves. He was fattening himself up for the winter. Then he gathered twigs and carried them to his den. He's making a soft bed, said the boy's mother. The boy turned the page. The bear had curled himself into a ball. He was bedding down where he would stay until spring. Sleep, big black bear, said the boy's mother. Shh, said the boy. Snowflakes began to fall across the pages of the book. The snow sat snugly at the boughs of the tree. The boy could almost feel it. Snow is cold, he said. He nestled closely against his mother. I like snow, he said. Winter settled like a big hush, read the boy's mother, and the big black bear slept. Shh, said the boy. Life went on outside the bear's den. Rabbits hopped through snowdrifts. Trees shivered. The wind blew its icy breath across the fields. The boy found animals hidden in the pictures. A deer, a rabbit, a fox. Then he pointed to the children gliding across the ice. The lake froze into a frosty mirror, read his mother. I like to skate, said the boy. When you're bigger, said his mother. The boy touched the sharp corners of the book. Then he climbed into his mama's lap, and he felt the soft cotton of her shirt. She wrapped her arms around him, and she turned the page. The sun was shining above the forest. Yellow, said the boy, smiling at its bright, round face. Blue, he said, touching the sky. Red, said Mama, pointing to a pair of mittens. And black, said the boy, pointing to the sleeping bear. Sleep, big black bear, said his mother. Along came a rumbling snowplow. Someone chopped wood for a fire, but the bear did not wake. Mama turned the page again. Smoke spiraled from chimneys, writing messages across the sky. In the house is a warm fire, a table, a chair, and a bed, read the boy's mama. My bed is warm too, said the boy, yawning. His eyes began to feel heavy. Now we turned the page. The trees shrugged the snow off their backs. Winter had crept off like a weary visitor, but the big black bear was still sleeping. Shh, said Mama, turning another Crocuses propped up through the earth, a fox drank from the pond. "I'm thirsty," said the little boy. His mother got him a glass of water. The boy held the book. He listened to the sound of the pages made when he turned them back and forth. "Shh," he said to the sleeping bear. The boy drank his water. "Do you think the bear gets thirsty?" he asked. "No," answered his mother. "He doesn't eat or drink the whole winter." "He must be very hungry when he wakes up," said the boy. His mother nodded. "He is very hungry," she said, "and very thin." The boy leaned his head on his mama's shoulder. She turned to the last page of the book. The bear was rolling over in his den. The warm wind was tickling his back. Spring had arrived. "Wake up, big black bear, wake up," said the boy's mama. The bear got to his feet. He crossed the page and walked out into the sunshine. But the boy's eyes had closed. Now the little boy was sleeping. His mama tucked him into bed. She closed the book and kissed him good night. "Sleep, little boy, sleep." And you can see some paintings of the black bear. All right, our next book is about another bear, and this one is called Old Bear by Kevin Hinks. By the time Old Bear fell asleep for the winter, it was snowing hard. Soon he was dreaming. He dreamed that spring had come and he was a cub again. The flowers were as big as trees. He took a nap in a giant pink crocus. What's a crocus? That's a good question. It's a flower. It looks like this. See, he's sleeping in one. When he dreamed that it was summer, the sun was a daisy and the leaves were butterflies. Part of the sky clouded over and it rained blueberries. Next he dreamed of autumn. Everything was yellow and orange and brown, even the birds and fish in the water. After that, he dreamed that winter was back. The world was covered in ice. It was night, and the sky was blazing with stars of all colors. The cold went on forever. Old Bear slept and dreamed, dreamed and slept. When he finally woke up, it seemed to him that no time had passed since he had fallen asleep. He yawned, he stretched. He poked his head out of the den to see if it was still snowing. He blinked and blinked again. And when Old Bear walked out into the beautiful spring day, it took him a minute to realize that he wasn't dreaming. And there he is, walking out into the spring.
The end.
The end. We've got two more. I'm just going to grab this one so it's closer. All right, and this one is Bear Snores On. And this one is by Karma Wilson. And if you watched last week's, we read a story about Bear, and he said thanks in that story. And this one, he snores. In a cave in the woods, in his deep, dark lair, through the long, cold winter, sleeps a great brown bear. Cuddled in a heap, with his eyes shut tight, he sleeps through the day, he sleeps through the night. The cold wind howls and the night sounds growl. but Bear snores on. An itty-bitty mouse, pitter-pat tiptoe, creep crawls in the cave from the fluff cold snow. Mouse squeaks, too damp, too dank, too dark, so he lights wee twigs with a small heart spark. The coals pip-pop and the wind doesn't stop, but Bear snores on. Two glowing eyes sneak peek in the den. Mouse cries, "Who's there?" And a hare hops in. "Ho, Mouse," says Hare, "long time no see." So they pop white corn and they brew black tea. Mouse sips wee slurps, Hare burps big burps, but Bear snores on. A badger scuttles by, sniff-snuffs at the air. "I smell yummy yums, perhaps we can share." "I've brought honey nuts," Badger says with a grin. "Let's divvy them up, cozy down, and dig in." And they nibble and they chew and they munch with a chew, chomp, crunch, but Bear snores on. A gopher and a mole tunnel up through the floor, then a wren and a raven flutter in through the door. Mole mutters, "What a night! What a storm!" twitters wren, and everybody clutters in the great Bear's den. They tweet and they titter, they chat and they chitter, but Bear snores on. In a cave in the woods, a slumbering bear sleeps through the party in his very own lair. Hare stokes the fire, Mouse seasons the stew, then a small pepper fleck makes the bear achoo! He blows and he sneezes, and the whole crowd freezes. And Bear wakes up. Bear gnarls and he snarls. Bear roars and he rumbles. Bear jumps and he stumps. Bear growls and he grumbles. "You snuck in my lair and you've had all the fun. But me? I was sleeping. I've had none." And he whimpers and he moans and he wails and he groans, and the bear blubbers on. Mouse squeaks, "Don't fret, don't fuss, look, see? We can pop more corn, we can brew more tea." Bear gulps, Bear gobbles, he sighs with delight, then he spins tall tales through the blustery night. When the sun peeks up on a crisp, clear dawn, Bear can't sleep, but his friends snore on.
The end.
The end. And we have one last story for our story time today. It's Sleep, Big Bear, Sleep by Maureen Wright. Old Man Winter from a storm cloud spied his big bear friend in the countryside. He leaned to the earth and softly sighed, "Sleep, Big Bear, sleep." But Big Bear didn't hear very well. He couldn't sleep in his den in the dell. He thought he heard, as twilight fell, "Drive a jeep, Big Bear, drive a jeep." So Big Bear yawned as he drove around in a jeep on a road just south of town. But after a while he stopped in a park. An old man whispered as it grew dark, "Sleep, Big Bear, sleep." But Big Bear didn't hear very well. He couldn't sleep in his den in the dell. He thought he heard as the dry leaves fell, "Sweep, Big Bear, sweep." So Big Bear went to a house down the street and swept each room so nice and neat. But after a while he yawned again, and Old Man Winter warned his friend, "Sleep, Big Bear, sleep." But Big Bear didn't hear very well. He couldn't sleep in his den in the dell. He thought he heard as the shadows fell, "Leap, Big Bear, leap."
I'll leap.
So Big Bear found a frog he knew and played leapfrog while the cold wind blew, till all at once he fell to the ground. The wind through the trees was the only sound, and Old Man Winter said with a frown, "Sleep, Big Bear, sleep." But Big Bear didn't hear very well. He couldn't sleep in his den in the dell. He thought he heard as darkness fell, "Dive deep, Big Bear, dive deep." So Big Bear padded to a clear blue lake, finding it hard to stay awake. He dove in deep and swam to the shore. He had never been so very tired before. He heard his head dropped down and he let out a snore. And Old Man Winter said once more, "Sleep, Big Bear, sleep." Big Bear didn't hear very well. He couldn't sleep in his den in the dell. He thought he heard as snowflakes fell, "Climb a mountain steep, Big Bear, steep." So Big Bear trudged to the mountaintop where the cold wind blew and the temperature dropped. He sat on a stump on the highest spot and wished for a blanket and a fold-up cot. He stumbled back down with his eyes half shut, so tired he didn't know which end was up. Old Man yelled while shaking his head, "Hey there, Bear! Did you hear what I said? It's winter time. Now go to bed." Big Bear's eyes were droopy and red. "You could have told me before," he said. He lumbered nearby to his cozy den, rubbed his eyes, and yawned again. He put on his PJs and blew out the light, and fluffing his pillow, he said, "Good night."
Good night.
Yes, good night. And that is the end of our story time for this week. Make sure you're checking in with our social media like Facebook and Twitter, and check your library's website for up-to-date information on programs and services. Thanks a lot. Until next time. Bye.